Welcome back, everyone. This one is going to be more of a political post than anything else. I've actually done a couple videos, but haven't gotten back around to getting them online yet. But this one is about the state I live in, Maryland, the socialist paradise that it has become due to 7 or 8 counties that dictate to everyone else what we're going to go through. And that's democracy for you, folks. The majority rules. That's what the founders of this nation did try to prevent when they created the Electoral College and built in protections so that urban areas wouldn't be able to run roughshod over the more rural areas. Sadly, that kind of wisdom has disappeared today, though, and all we hear is a cry for democracy, which is really just a smokescreen for a cry for socialism. And here in Maryland, we're seeing the complete outplay of that. So, a local news station ran this article um, just this morning. Projected deficit in Maryland's budget causing ripples throughout the state. The Capital Debt Affordability Committee, and you'll get to see who they are here in a second, is recommending additional loans of over $8 billion in the next 5 years. So we have a governor and staff and legislature who have zero knowledge of how the economy works, of how finance works. And it's not to be unexpected. Even Republicans do this, so don't think I'm just coming down on the Democrats. We know how it works in our own lives. I mean, we have a bank account. If we overspend our bank account, the bank penalizes us, and we can no longer spend money because we don't have the money. Well, the government can just wave their magic wand and create money out of the ether that surrounds us. And that's why you see inflation. That's why you're paying so much for gas and so much for groceries and so much for a new vehicle, and why used vehicles are getting so hard to find. And I could go on and on and on here. But that's where we are, because most of us just let it happen. Or we're psychopaths and we just go along with the program and do whatever. So, what does this mean? Well, here we are at the Capital Debt Affordability. This is from the Maryland Associations of Counties, so this is an official website. So the headline reads, Capital Debt Affordability Committee recommends a 45% increase in bond authorization for fiscal year 25. As you read through here, you get to see who the members of this CDAC is. There's 7 members. The state treasurer is the committee chair. The comptroller, secretaries of the Department of Budget and Management, the Department of Transportation. The governor appoints one, and they have a few non-voting members involved. But down here's what you need to see, right here. After a lively discussion and several staff presentations, the CDAC unanimously approved a recommendation of $500 million increase over anticipated bond levels. And this equates to a 45% increase in state borrowing. 45%. So, if they go down this road, they're going to raise state borrowing $1.75 billion in each of the next 5 years, for a total of nearly $8.8 billion in borrowing over those 5 years. That's an increase of 30% over the same period as envisioned by the legislature in December of 2023. Ladies and gents, listening to this, the state of Maryland is doomed. I mean, I'm usually, well, I don't know, talk to people. I usually try to keep what would I even call it? A good outlook. I want to see things get better. That's why I make videos. That's why I go to my local city council meetings. That's why I engage with people out in public, because we've got to change something, folks. And if Maryland won't change, then we need to get out of Maryland. And there was and still is a lot of people who talk about seceding to West Virginia, which could be a good thing, although even the West Virginia state government does some things which I'm not going to get into in this video because I don't want to make it too long, but they're typical of most governments. A couple recommendations here. One, secede, let's get out. We need some people who's willing to step up and help with that kind of project. Number two, stop electing these bozos that don't know how the economy works and don't know how finances work. I mean, we elected this governor who was, one, proven to lie about his military service, and two, was found out during the election to not have paid his water bill, which ran up, I think, over $1 million, if I'm correct. I might be incorrect. Don't quote me on that one, but he just wasn't paying his water bill. These people have no idea how an economy works, and the legislature in Maryland acts like they're like a friend of mine back in the day when everyone used checks. He thought that if he had a check, he had money, period. He'd just write whatever. And of course, they would bounce, and he would, of course, get penalized, and he couldn't figure out how that worked. And these legislatures are the exact same way. The problem is that we're trying to do too much with government instead of just letting the people handle the problems themselves. So, third, let's turn this upside down. Okay? Now listen to me here. Let's turn it upside down. That's how originally America was. The local governments were the main entities. As you rose up the ladder to the county and to the state and to the federal level, they became less and less influential in the day-to-day lives of people. That's all been turned upside down. Now you pay more in federal taxes than you do state and local. But it's all failing and falling in on itself because it's unsustainable. There's just not that much money out there to just continue to spend like Maryland is doing, like California is doing, like most of your socialist, Democrat-run states and cities are doing. You just can't do it and not expect to reap the whirlwind. It's just that simple. Just that simple. Governor Moore came into office with, I forget what kind of, he had millions and millions of dollars waiting on him when he came into office, partly due to good fiscal actions, not entirely, but it was also due to a large influx of federal money due to COVID. But he had a surplus of millions and millions and millions of dollars. That is completely gone now. And so now the state's going to have to start borrowing money in order to be able to continue their reckless spending. Now you look south of Maryland to West Virginia, they actually have a budget surplus, and they're using it wisely and well. Now they are doing some things that kind of make you shake your head, but at least they kind of have some sense of fiscal responsibility. But this is just insanity. And it's just going to continue here in Maryland because they've jerry-rigged the system in order to be able to continue to elect the Democrats that they want and continue this kind of social destruction, which is really what it is. You know, Moore shows up all the time on Twitter on how great the economy is, and they're building jobs, and they're, building businesses, and Maryland's so fantastic. But behind the scenes, the only reason he can say those things is that they're contemplating borrowing up to $8.8 billion in the next 5 fiscal years. Now, how do they pay that back? You might ask. They pay it back by raising your taxes. That's how they do it. Because that's the only way the state has money. Your tax dollars. They'll raise the sale tax. They'll raise the gas tax. They'll raise property taxes. I've already seen that happen. They'll tax everything, folks, if they could. I always laugh because back in history, you read of different places, and they would even tax your windows. And how big your windows were, they would tax it. I can see Maryland doing that before long, because they have to have money in order to be able to fund all their social change programs, which is what all this is. That whole blueprint for education that the Kerwin Commission come out, social change, changing the kids, making them more illiterate and stupid than they already are. But yet, what do? You better be writing to your legislative members. You better be making sure your voice is heard in the governor's office. Let's turn this upside down. Let's get power away from the state and the federal government, put it back in the hands of the local entities that should and could do a better job and are also more representative of the people than someone like Moore and his cabinet, who my entire region out in Western Maryland did not elect him in. But yet here we are. And, our local political sycophants all have to basically suck up to him, hoping to get a handout from the state and keep these grant funds coming, even though, as you can see, the only reason they're going to get any kind of grant funds is because the state's going to go greater in debt. And then eventually the state's going to go, well, we can't really afford to fund all this stuff, so we're going to start cutting back, and watch what they cut. Because it'll only be certain programs. It won't be the ones that will cost them votes, like welfare or these social outreach programs that they have. Oh no, they'll keep funding those. It'll be other things, law enforcement, education. We really, folks, need to wake up. We've got to, or our future generations are doomed. And you need to be thinking about your children and your grandchildren and even your great-grandchildren, because this debt's going to be passed on to them. And unless we change, it's just going to get greater and greater and spread out through the generations until it just collapses on itself. I know it's Wednesday. It's not the best message, but it's a message that needs to be gotten out. So wake up, people, please. Stop letting, I don't know, you can't really stop it unless you take action. So take some actions, write some people, make your voice heard, do something rather than just sit there in a stupor watching your television and going to Taylor Swift concerts, because the future is at risk here. The future is at risk. It's just that simple. Hope you all have a good day. Anything else comes up, I'll pop another video in. We'll talk soon.